This is Talk is Sheep, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Society of BC, brought to you by Sitka Gear. Come along as we bring conversations that matter to you into the high alpine. This episode is sponsored by our conservation partner, Precision Optics. Thank you, Sitka Gear and Precision Optics, for investing in healthy wildlife and sustainable ecosystems. Dr. Matt frickin' Ward. Wardo, buddy, how's it going?
Good, brother. How are you, man? How are you?
Good. You got the handlebar stash rocking out. You're looking good. You're all dialed for the goat hunt. Life is good, eh?
Life is good, man. No complaints. I'm seeing some sweet mule deer behind you there, which makes me pretty hungry to chase them a little bit closer into November here when we get back from this goat hunt that's coming up. But yeah, still probably obviously had an unreal hunt this year for stones, but which I'm sure we'll talk about. But every time around this year, you're like, man, a big mule deer would be cool. And it'd be nice. It'd be nice. A real wall hanger, they say.
Well, you shouldn't have too much trouble with that. You're up on the Fraser there, and you're pretty dialed in. You're doing some guiding up there, so you got to know where the big bucks are up there. You should be able to put one on the wall, wouldn't you? Should be easy.
Kind of like guide outfitter relationship 101 is you're not hunting where you're guiding.
Yeah, for sure. Fair enough.
That's money off Storak's table. So that's kind of, I think it'd be a good way to shorten that relationship. If I ever want to leave, I'll just do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I do. I definitely know where there's some pretty nice mule deer kicking around, but yeah, I'm not gonna push the boundary and cross that barrier in that relationship for sure. Otherwise, I'd be down a friend.
Yeah, absolutely. What caliber of bucks has been pulling out of this area there? Like, are they 180 class? What are they looking like these days?
No, it's still like there's some cool deer up there, man. It's big country. I mostly hunt the alpine. Admittedly, I've never been in there when like you get that sweet that migration kind of like the migration pattern really pushing through. So yeah, like there's some cool bucks. Like there's this buck that we were chasing up there this year. He's just a big wide, like he wouldn't be a good scoring buck, but like if he was like a typical four, like he'd push 180, 190 probably, but he's just like a big, deep forked three up in the high country there above 7,000 feet. And I mean, the only time we saw him, it was 4-point season. So, but that deer has been on the list for a while. He's fucking the whole area up. Actually, his genetics are all over the place. You see these big wide twos and these big wide barely split threes. You're like, I know who your dad is, but he's a big deer. Like he's probably like, if we're thinking like width of ears is kind of like, maybe 18 or 20 ish, you're looking at like this he's got to push 32, 33 inches wide. Like he's a big wide deer, which is pretty sweet. Yeah, he's like
very
big,
cool.
big wide deer, which is cool. And then we get a lot of height up there, with like kind of narrow rack, but like lots of tall, like lots of height. Got one client this year got a pretty cool tall deer, and he was like around that 150 class kind of buck, which is pretty good realistically for what we have up there. Especially it's kind of hard hunting at that time of year. Like alpine stuff is not easy, so. Yeah, I think I'm proud to get those guys and get guys opportunities. But yeah, there's definitely there's big like world-class deer that are in there. It's just taking, I think, a little bit longer after that whole area burnt to a crisp for them to kind of come back in a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and so I'm gonna do a neat little segue here. So killing a big mule deer buck. So anyone could kill a mule deer buck like that. Well, it's not, it's challenging, but to kill a buck, you can do it. But to kill a trophy class mule deer and like one of those big bucks, it's like a 40-inch ram, which we happen to know guys that are killing those kind of rams this year. That
yeah.
So
yeah, it's going around. Something's in the air.
Well, and I didn't want to jump right into it, but you did bring it up, and you've had a hell of a year, buddy. So you've been after it for stones. You're going on this goat hunt. You're going to do some guiding late season. So epic year. And I'm going to talk about balancing your like work life family balance in a minute here, but let's
Yeah.
talk about Stone Sheep and talk about um, the cover boy for frickin' the Wild Sheep Society BC magazine for starters.
Yeah. I got a lot of messages over still the odd one comes in, but when the magazine was released, being like, who's this stud on the cover? I'm like, well, there's an ugly guy next to it, but there's a real nice looking ram that I've named Harold right next to him. So it was pretty cool. And again, I've said it many times, but I really appreciate that, and it was a really cool gesture to be and an honor to be on the cover of the WSSBC magazine, man. Yeah, that was a cool trip. I mean, realistically, it was for a little bit there, it looked like it wasn't going to happen. I was my hunting partner bailed on me like weeks before, and I was kind of just gonna maybe go in solo. My wife wasn't too keen on that, but I know a couple people in that area who've been in that area, and they're like, yeah, it's not like bad solo. Like you're up pretty high. There's like not like that many bears. Like it's not like that many bears. Like it's like pretty good. And it's not like super dangerous or anything like that, where you're going through a lot of real sketchy spots. So I was like planning on maybe just going in alone, and then my you never the boys said you never leave a brother behind. So I had Lauren. I messaged Lauren Trousdale and I said, hey, could you fit 4 on the jet boat? And he's like, shit, man, I can't. It's just not big enough. And I was like, damn. He's like, well, what happened? I lost a sheep hunting partner, bailed on me, freaking, and he's like, hey, well, where are you going to go and whatever. And so we kind of went down. He's like, oh man, maybe we'll just all 4 of us should fly in there. Cause it was him, Matt McCabe, and our good buddy, Doug. And he's like, well, let's talk to the boys. And I said, no big deal. If you can't, like, I understand your change of plans last minute. The boys rallied for me, and everybody, and we kind of hopped in, and we were flying with Clappin Air, which was like a shout out to Clappin, first class operation there. We had a great experience flying with those guys, which, a lot of us who've flown with other outfits, like, sometimes it does. It's like a little bit of a crapshoot going in, going out, no communication, blah, blah, blah. So, Clappin was like unbelievable. And, like to the point they had a mechanical with the plane. When we showed up at maybe like 10:30 or something like that. And they said, I can't remember the name of the lady who runs it, Kay, maybe or something. Anyways, she's like, oh, we're not going to be able to get you guys out in tomorrow morning, but we got somebody driving right now to Vanderhoof to pick up a new part for the plane. And I said, oh, okay, like no problem, like shit happens. They're like, well, she's like, the wall tent's over there, and because they run the outfit out of it, wall tent's over there for you guys with cots and bedding, and breakfast is 8, lunch is 12, and dinner's 5. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, sweet, like. Unbelievable, yeah. Like hospitality, had some space for us, treated us just like we were clients, which is cool. Like of the hunting outfit that's out of the 3 that are out of there, I should say. And so that was a great start to the trip. And then we end up getting out the next night. And, I always think too, like, you make good choices, good things happen. We like flew in, it was like pretty late. Didn't have that much daylight left. And everybody looked at each other, we're like, we hiking up tonight? We're like, yeah, we're hiking up tonight. So we like just, pinned it. We had 15 days worth of food and camp and everybody in the packs. And, pack was, it was 80 pounds or something like that. And up we went. A good push that night. Got dark, set up tents. We were like, oh, we'll hit the ridge in the morning. And they were like, or we got to drop for water tomorrow. I had like, I don't know, maybe 200 mils of water. Like nobody had anything. And then woke up early the next day, made it to the ridge. We're like, all right, well, we got to figure water out here. And then we're like, well, let's have a little glass because we're high country. We're sheep country right here. Sheep trails everywhere. So we're like, well, let's have a little look. We see. And then I think it was Maddie kind of sees, like, we kind of just pulled back off the ridge. And he's like, oh, I just saw 3, like 2 or 3 heads just go over the edge. And we're like, oh, okay. So we sneak back over, have a look, can't see anything, but the area is like super foldy. And we kind of go back, and I said, well, if you think you saw something, why don't we, like, Lauren and Doug going to stay there, keep looking, doing some shit. I said, why don't you and I just like hike up this ridge a little bit and start looking back down, like the fold we can't see. Freaking up we went. We get to this edge, and it's such like kind of steep foldy country. We got up onto this like kind of, I imagine it's almost like a little Lion King rock, and we're kind of looking over the edge, and I'm to Matt's right, and I see this like maybe 5 or 6 year old ram, and I'm like, oh sweet, and then he like kind of like hits me and is like, and he's like, go get your gun and give me your spotter, and I was like, oh, was it like, well, and Matty gets excited, so I was like, wow, nah, this is a I'm looking at a 5 or 6 year old ram here, like through the binos, like, and he's like, there's another one, like right next to him. And I just can't see him. Like he's just chopped off on this cliff. So I'm like, all right, I'll trust him. So I like run back down kind of out of the way, and I'm like sprinting back down the hill. And Lauren and Doug are like, what's going on? I don't really say anything. I just like grab my gun and I'm like, I think we got one. And so they're like, are you serious? And I don't like say anything. I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and debate it with you. Like, let's fucking go. So I start running back up the hill, and Maddie's got the spotter on him. He's so far past the nose, but like still want to confirm just age. Like, I don't want to shoot I don't want to shoot a 7-year-old that's legal, or even worse, something else. And yeah, so, Lauren, I kind of like stuck down and around, and I said, Lauren, hop on the spotter. And then so Maddie's looking, he's in between Lauren and I'm kind of like creeping up over this ridge. This, let's call it this 5-year-old ram sees me. Like he knows we're there, doesn't see me, but knows we're there. And it's like, just taking it easy. I creep up over the edge, and I'm like, looking, I can't see the ram still, looking, can't see the ram still. Then I get like just over the edge, and I'm like, oh, there he is. I'm like, oh yeah, wow, he's like blows past the nose. I'm like, oh God. So I like basically just kind of tuck I think a jack. No, I didn't even have anything. I just kind of like had my bipod on the ground, kind of like gun ready to go. And I just kind of looked back at Lauren, basically. I think I looked back at Matt, and I was like, can you confirm, like, just confirm 8 for me? And then I like look up at Lauren, and Lauren pulls his head out of the spotter, and he just kind of like thumbs up. And I was like, I don't know. I shot him about 2 seconds after that. Didn't even know we were there. He was bedded. Didn't move an inch. And then the rest, that was like, morning 1, day 2, technically of the hunt. So it was pretty, definitely wasn't some like crazy stalk and, cat and mouse chase game and all those things. It was just, a little bit of right place, right time, which I'll take. And then the real work kind of came afterwards. So like, whatever, we kind of like, I caped him out the next, that was early in the morning. And then so caped him out, pulled the skull, and then caped him out the next day. The boys were moving into the area we wanted to start hunting, like thought we were going to hunt mostly. And so they were chasing another couple of sheep there as well. And then, but nothing quite of there was a legal ram there, but not something that we were looking at taking. And then the boys left, and I kind of just finished caping. I just finished drying the cape out, I should say, kind of, and then I left the cape. Meat went down like back towards where we started from in a creek and buried. And we're like, well, I'm leaving it for another like 12 or 13 days. Bury it deep and in some water, triple bag it, and hope it stays good. Cape I had salted, and it was pretty cured. And then the skull was coming with me. So the next 12 days of hiking was, a full like 12 days of food, full pack, tent, all the things, and then a ram skull on the top of it for the next bunch of days. It was a grind. It was a lot of hiking. I didn't complain, and I just tried to keep up with the fellas, and did a pretty good job. But I was pretty glad I was in good shape this year.
No doubt. Well, that was my first question. It was like, what'd you do with the skull? I'm like, you couldn't leave it there because, bear gets a hold of it, or a hunter, like any hunter sees it, and you get one guy that has like sort of questionable ethics, and that thing's gone, right? And
gone. Yeah.
But back it up. What range were you? What were they ranged at, give or take, when you first got on them? Like when you
honestly didn't. It's close enough. It was like non-rangeable, like 100. I think 114 yards or something like that. I think I ranged them after I shot him, but it was It was close. Like it was close. It didn't matter. There was no
Right.
dialing. There was no nothing. There was no no precision really needed. It was just 114 yards and it don't screw it up. Yeah.
Awesome,
Yeah, and
buddy.
yeah, it didn't move an inch. But yeah, rest of the hunt was incredible. We covered a lot of country. Kind of normally on like a kind of close to sheep opener, you're like, usually expect a tent day or two, kind of, and you kind of recover and rest. Man, we just had banging weather the whole time. Like almost some
Nice.
days were hot, man. Like I was sunburnt as shit. We were shirts off, sun tanning, like like it was awesome a lot of the time. I think it was Lauren. We were like just cruising ridges and up down and all man hiking everywhere and from maybe our third or fourth camp and it's like man we I could use like a glassing day tomorrow like just and even still we like hiked for 3 hours or something like that like just there was no end of it was just how far as you wanted to hike like you could hike like the weather was so good yeah so
Uh,
it was good man we were yeah we were tired we saw a lot of sheep it was cool just nothing of like the nothing of the age class that we were looking for or the size realistically because all those guys have good rams and stuff so it was like that's we're looking for something better.
yeah. What's the stats on your RAM? Talk me through it.
I haven't. I mean, I kind of green scored it out there, and it was like 39 and 5/8 long, being kind of on the, it's kind of not stretching the tape too hard. Like 39 and 5/8 long, and then bases were 13 and 13 3/4 or something like that.
And how old did the age him at?
Oh, he
What
was
would
he was
be?
9. Sorry, he was 9. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Some people will call
Awesome.
him 9.5, but I think that's bullshit. There's no halves, man. You're 9, you're 10, you're 6, you're 7, you're 11. There's no halves. He was in his 10th
Yeah.
year, trying to make yourself sound a little better than maybe it is. He was 9. Yeah,
Awesome, buddy. Well, congratulations. And that's the thing for sheep hunters and new sheep hunters. It's that, you put yourself in a good place and sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't. And you guys did it. Like you guys put yourselves in a good spot. You worked hard and it came to you, right? But you could easily hunted 12 days or 13 days and not seen anything either, too, right? So,
totally. Yeah, yeah, and
yeah.
I think too, right? Like, that's like I don't know, maybe my fifth sheep hunt, right? Like, and to turn down some rams and so on and so forth. You're trying to look for something that who was I talking about it with? Oh, I was talking with my buddy with Rye Johnson. He guided for Arctic Red for a lot of years, and he's an Alberta boy. He just killed a really nice bighorn. And he had this other one that he was looking at that was like it was legal, like he on this hunt that he was on with his brother in Alberta. There, this one night, it's a nice ram. Like I mean, most guys are gonna take it. It's a legal, like decently heavy, carries the mass well, like Rocky Mountain Bighorn. He's like, I don't know, just didn't like do it for me. And then he saw this ram and he's like, oh man, that ram looks like pretty sweet. And like I think that's when I was in the NWT with Ben last year too. Like we were looking at this, he had the option to either choose like kind of a caribou or a Dall sheep if we found something real special of either. And there was this like nice Dall sheep. Like man, it's 10. It's like 34, 35, like 35 inches maybe or something like that. Like 30, like it's a nice Dall sheep. Like anybody be thrilled to have it. But it like he's like, I don't know, like I don't even know if I'd care that much about this sheep later on. I think that's like a big thing, like it should turn your crank a little bit. You should see it and be like, oh man, that's sweet. Not just like, I killed it and I checked that box like for the gram. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I think you should make it special, right? Not just whatever. So like my buddy Jesse's been hunting a long time. They just killed he just went he was probably more on the lines of like he doesn't get to go sheep hunting that much and he's been a few times and he's like probably anything that's legal probably would have done. And he killed an 11-year-old ram out of Providence this year and like I mean like he was just telling me the story. They came up to the Okanagan for a buddy's wedding a few weeks back, and he was telling me the story, man. And like the excitement, dude, like guys like got goosebumps and tears almost like streaming down his face when he's like telling the story of being with his buddies and getting this ram. And, I mean, like, that's someone who's going to appreciate this thing for the rest of their life. You know what I mean? Not just like, cool. Yeah, sheep, whatever. So I think that's something I try and think about a lot.
Well, and I think too, it's like, what are the most rewarding things in your life? It's always the stuff that you've worked hard for, right? It's never like,
Yeah.
you've anytime anyone's given you something, it maybe has some value, but it's when you've earned it that you're like, holy shit, man, this is like deep, impactful. And you talked about going on 4 sheep hunts before you pulled the trigger. And, that thing meant something to you. You put a lot of time in. Yeah, it came easy on this hunt, but it took you, 4 different sheep hunts to get there and all this, this multitude of gear and experience and time and adaptation, right? You had the plan and then went
Yeah.
sideways and you got to hook up with the guys and make it be resourceful like that's like just getting on the mountains freaking hard and then to harvest a
Yeah.
ram and you'll remember that one forever.
100%, man. Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to kind of go full banana with it as well. I'm going to get, I want to get replica horns made and then I'm going to do like a full body mount as well. So,
Nice, nice.
I don't know if I plan like I, hopefully I kill another stone in my life, but it'll have to be better than, kind of what this one is or different, or maybe I'll be, switch over to archery or something like that as well. So I think there's like some options like that, but I don't think I'm the like, yeah, go out every year and try and just schnock a ram for the sake of schnocking a ram. Like, I think I'd rather just watch them. And if it's not as old or as special or whatever, then that's it. That's, and that's just my opinion. But yeah, so if this is the only one in my life, I want to do it right.
Yeah, and that brings up that question. It's a little bit maybe ethical. It's certainly not legal, but do you go and kill a ram every year? Like, and you got guys that are dying to harvest their first ram, been hunting for 10 years and they haven't done it. And I'm not judging, I'm not passing judgment, but there is somebody would say it's an ethical question on, what's right and what. And I talked to a lot of sheep hunters and guys that have killed 1 or 2 rams and they're like they want something special or they want their buddies to have it. And obviously if we all go out all the time and all kill rams, it's not going to be very long when we won't be hunting rams very often. So I'm kind of like
Yeah.
you, it's the last time I killed a ram was 11 years ago. I've been on
Yeah.
5 or 6 hunts where there's been guys kill them since then, but I've
Yeah.
only been and I'm the same as you. It's like there's been a few times there's been some 8-year-old rams and they were legal. Maybe they weren't legal, to be honest with you. I never really looked that close, but it was like just when you kill this and then you go and look at something like that, you're like, leave it for someone else, or maybe next year it's going to be a really nice ram that people really want to
Totally.
harvest, right? So, yeah.
100%. Yeah. And that's like I said, right? Like I think also too, like I don't know, like there's just on my YouTube feed knows me well. Obviously, the algorithm knows what's going on there, and there's just that like that Eastman. There's that video of Eastman killing that like just massive stone a million years ago, and he's just like, yeah, like he's recorded saying like, I'm never going to shoot another one. Nothing's ever going to be better than this one. And yeah, I think there's a lot of the old school that are like that. There's also a lot of guys who like hike in late season off the highway and they're all pushed down and they literally shoot like a 7 or 8 year old ram or whatever every single year. And I'm like, hey man, like that is, I guess if that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. Like guys who shoot 30 rams in a lifetime or something. It's like, I don't know. That's not how I would think about it, but also to teach their own. It's well within the legality of hunting, I should say.
Well, and that's kind of the questions, and this is sort of a philosophical issue, and kind of the crux we're having in our hunting community now is that, there's more and more pressure on the resource. So, do we move to a scenario where guys are starting to get restricted? And there's a bit of a mixed bag. Like some guys are like, no, leave the system alone. It's fine. They don't want LEH. They don't want, and our harvest numbers are pretty consistent year over year. They're not. It's not like we're
Yeah.
killing 300 one year and then 1,000 one year and then like 300. It's just been like that 300 fluctuates. I think the ram numbers are maybe down a little bit for stone sheep year over, like when we look 20, 30 years ago, but There's some explanations there on that, but that brings up the question: should we be advocating for you take a ram, you just sit out for a few years, and you can still go hunting, you're just not sheep hunting. You can go, so maybe you take a 5 year, and so some guys say one ram every 3 years or one ram every 5 years, and the challenge with that is they've run the numbers, and the amount of numbers it's so low that it just doesn't really have benefit. So one every three,
No,
it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to cut.
no,
Uh,
yeah, exactly. I think, yeah, I'd be curious. You know what? I can't remember who the heck I was talking about this with the other day, but like, obviously, if you hope, I hope not, just because it's more like this, the government love to seems to go like LEH, the drop of a hat.
yeah,
But you got to wonder if there's like a chance of like if you're an Alberta resident, you probably it's laughable to shoot like 135-inch, 140-inch mule deer, like unless
yeah,
that's like a farm buck that no one knows about kind of thing. Not
yeah.
advocating for it, but let's just call a spade a spade. But you're gonna like pass 160, 170 bucks all the time because there's a ton of 200-inch mule deer out there, and that's what you kind of want. You want a big typical 180 plus, right? Or whatever.
Mhm.
And you're like, man, would it have been like that if these units didn't, if it was just hunted, if there was no point system, like what would the class of animal be? You'd have to, it'd be over like 20 years, it'd be over multiple lifetimes of deer, obviously. But is that where we could get to with a lot of stuff with like LEH? I'm not saying I'm for it. I'm just like, it's an interesting thought question. Oh, I think it was Omer and I were talking about this actually. I can't quite remember. But anyways, send the hate mail to him if it's if you don't agree with it. But I'd just be curious, right? Like it couldn't be like 1 year it goes LEH, then the next year like nothing changed. You're like, this is a stupid system. It'd have to be 15 or 20 years later. Then all of a sudden there's just a greater age class. Is like, the stone you've got behind you, is that like just the average of what people are killing, which is really cool. Like older, bigger, more mature. Like, does that change the narrative of like just getting one, or like you can when you draw that tag, you're like, there's a big one in here. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think that's kind of like an interesting thought question that I think we should probably be asking ourselves a little bit as time ticks on.
Well, and the society, we have these talks internally, and certainly at our AGM or in Penticton this year, that's something we could do a panel on that and see what the kind of the consensus is. And you're going to get, it's controversial, right? Like you're going to get the whole gamut. You're going to get a guy that absolutely not, do not change it. I want to go stone sheep hunting every year, and I want to kill a ram every year. And if it's legal, that's my business. And then you're going to get the other side. It's like, no, you shouldn't be shooting anything that's under 10 years old, and like,
Totally.
like whatever their vision is, right? Like the far extreme, and you should only get
Yeah.
one ram a lifetime and whatever, right? So where do we sit in there? And we're never really going to like come together and everyone agree on it, but it's something we need to think about. One of the things that one of our members, and he's been quite vocal on it, Mike has reached out to me several times on it, and he's advocated for sort of a age class system, right? So if you kill an 8-year-old ram, you take 5 years off or 6 years off, or whatever the metrics. I'm just using, if you
Yeah.
shoot a 7-year-old, it's legal if it's legal, but it's 7 years
Yeah.
old. Like you take a big break, like you're taking like
Yeah.
10 years off
10
or 20
plus.
years or what, pick a number, right? And
Yeah.
then you kill a 10-year-old ram, maybe you take 3 years off, and you kill a 12-year-old
Sure.
ram, you go every year. You
Sure.
just keep shooting them, right? So
Yeah.
that's not the numbers he used. I'm just pulling
Yeah.
it out of
Yeah.
my ass here. But you
Yeah.
get the idea. And I think there's a lot of merit to a system like that, to be honest with you. If you're going to kill this high age class structure ram, you're going to only take the oldest rams out, then great. And you can still take a ram. You can go every year. You might not be able to pull a trigger, go with your buddies.
Yeah.
But if you kill a young ram, you're just done. Like it's like there's a long time where you're in the penalty box, or
Yeah.
maybe perpetually. And there are states that are one ram in a lifetime. That's all they ever kill,
Totally.
right? So if you
100%.
kill an underage ram, you're done, or whatever, for example.
That's
And,
it.
and I'm not saying I necessarily agree with all of that, but I think as a community, we have to start thinking about these things, because there's increased pressure. There's no doubt about it. You've seen it. We've all seen it, and we talk about it.
Yeah,
And so, how do we? I don't want to go LEH. I don't. Like, I'll be the first guy to say. That said, if the resource needs it, I'll advocate for it. I'm
sure.
not going to sit there and. But I think there's a lot we could do as a community. And the one thing the government tells us is that you got. I didn't see it going this way, buddy. I thought we were going to talk about your sheep hunt and a bunch of, and we will talk about other cool stuff too. But these are all really important
This is
questions we
cool
need to
stuff.
talk.
This is
It
it.
is very cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm getting some hate mail on this one for sure. But I think we have to start thinking about the resource and having those discussions because there's increased pressure and it might just keep going up. And if it does, it probably will. And if it does, then there's going to be problems, right? So.
Yeah, and I think we've seen what happened in Region 4 with Rockies, right? And that's like kind of the thing. It's going to be a knee jerk reaction to turn things to LEH. Like you Region 6 Caribou, knee jerk reaction LEH. Like it's automatic, right? So they're already kind of primed to do that. And like I love that. I think it's great to have some sort of like a bit of a penalty box system if you shoot a young ram, even if it's legal. And hopefully the penalties start to get harsher for people that are shooting illegal animals of any kind. And then you're rewarded for taking something out of the class that's a little bit older. But like more than anything, that's complicated in a system that like even getting sheep hunter education up would be great to the general public, right? So like that comes kind of like on your like as you order that sheep tag, maybe it's not mandatory, but it comes and it's like there's a good video on aging and why we age and why the class is there and so on and so forth. That could be something that helps just the general public who aren't members of WSSBC and aren't like, dyed in the wool sheep hunters and come from that class. So like, like I'm fit. I, watched a couple of videos and I'm going to get up into sheep country and I'm going to hike off the highway and oh shit, there's rams, and now at least they maybe have a chance to know what they're looking at. So, I think there's like all sorts of things that we should have conversations about, whether they're right or wrong or happen or don't. I think all that stuff's extremely important because otherwise, if all of a sudden you get blindsided and the powers that be decide to make it LEH in a couple of years, or that, I don't think it's like we have nothing to come. We haven't even thought about it to come back with any sort of and with anything else or any other option. So I think these conversations are always good because it also, if other people are listening, it always ends up, like we do care about the population of and the age class and the general health of sheep overall, obviously. It's worth every conversation and the hate mail.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that government tells us is that like when government gets put in a corner, they got to act and they have like a very limited toolbox and you're not going to like the levers they pull, like Region 4 LEH. You're not going to like
Sure.
that. Right. So,
Yeah.
they're one thing that they've been encouraging us to do is be proactive, like talk to your members. And if you come and bring these policies forward or proposals, then we can look at them, right? But if we wait, and that was sort of the big narrative around these young rams or these underage rams are being killed, is that if you keep this up and you keep killing 20, 30 plus rams a year that are underage, we're going to go to LEH. They're telling us that. So the society has been very proactive this past year in horn aging. We did 6 or 7 courses of kind of around the province. We're gearing up to do something similar for 25. I'm with you, Matt. Education's critical. We need more. And like, this dialogue, like you and I are talking about old rams, but there's guys that still go out there every year and probably shoot a 6-year-old ram, or guys that do it pretty frequently.
Totally.
They're still legal and 3 inches past the nose, and they're pulling the trigger every year on them. And we have to start talking about that, right? The cost of it, why it's important we don't do that, and educating people because it's just not good that it's happening, right?
So. Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. Yeah, and of course, like all the extra stuff that the society's been doing is unreal, and the extra step, the extra push, I think needs to go towards people who are just general hunters, right? Because like people talk about sheep hunting and stuff all the time, and they're like, maybe one day or whatever they're talking about, but realistically, if they don't have anybody in their circle that sheep hunts or can, point them and mentor them in the right direction, then, mistakes get made. So it's good to have something that's like an easy, open avenue of education, like, whatever, like you just keep reporting all the horn aging things. And then, with Bill or whoever, and then they end up, coming with, when you order your sheep tag, you're like, oh, here's this link to click or something like that. But, that I think that stuff is extremely important for the future of hunting sheep in northern BC.
Yeah, one of the things we've been working on is actually we're working directly with Silvercore, and it's a horn aging
Sweet.
like CBT program, like computer-based training. So
Awesome.
and we're advocating for it to be mandatory, certainly for a new sheep hunter, but even if you get a, like sort of a competency base, like if you maybe do it once, and then if you're going after, it's been 5 years and you're going to go again, you're going to buy a tag, and there's support for it. We've advocated for it for the government, and what we're really to me, the ideal world would be there's a CBT program, you do it online, and actually a mandatory course in person. And there's states that do that. If you look, Oregon State, when you get
Yeah.
drawn for bighorn sheep down there or goats, you have to go
Yep.
down and do a full day course. And everyone goes in, everyone has to take it. It's mandatory. Now,
Yeah.
BC is a hell of a lot bigger than Oregon. So,
Yeah. And a
getting a guy
lot more
from
people sheep hunt here. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, there's a couple hundred tags a year or whatever in Oregon or whatever, 300, that number. I don't know exactly, but in BC, we're
Yeah.
talking 3,000, right? So,
Totally.
and
Yeah.
there's support from the guide outfitting community, even with the guide community to be, having that, having their hunters as well, go through that and stuff like that. Obviously, there's been a push, I will say, in certain corners, and I can't say too much without getting in trouble here, but to have the non-resident hunters do it. And like, could you imagine you got to come up and sit in a classroom? And of course, the guide outfitters are like, no, that's why you have a guide. Like the guide's going to age them
Yeah.
for you. He's going to tell you if it's legal or not. And that makes sense, of course, right? So,
Yeah.
it's,
Until
yeah.
until you have, outfitters that are like, no, just put them on a ram. Right. And I'm not
Mhm.
going to also start talking about that because it's, but it's, they're putting on legal rams and clients can't make it and they don't want to come back. And it's you're paying 80, 90, 100, $110,000. You're probably shooting that ram. You know what I mean? Unless you got a real strong, firm outfitter on like what they do and do not do. So
Right.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, that's like a top down driven thing. And it's hard to tell somebody exactly how to run their business.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, again, I'll probably just leave that at that.
Oh my God. I can see the emails now, buddy. It's going to be good.
Yeah. No,
Um,
it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
um, okay, cool. Yeah, lots of great conversation there, and we should have more dialogue on it because it's such an important issue, and
Yeah.
it's really going to affect the future of sheep hunting. Like if we, you know, people are afraid that it's going to go to LEH for stone sheep, and I think if we just maintain status quo and aren't proactive, yeah, they probably will.
Yeah.
And we probably will need to too. It's not just a matter of the government wanting to do it. It's a matter of at some point,
Yeah.
yeah, we need to do it. So it's worth having a discussion anyway. So
For
yeah.
sure it is, right? Because, I mean, you're only ever, like, if you look what's happening in Alaska right now, you're only ever like a couple of bad winters or one real bad winter away from completely having a fucked up sheep population that
Hmm.
maybe nobody's hunting anymore, right? Like, and that's really sad. It's also sad from a guy, like an outfitter perspective, where like maybe they're closing your area for like an X number of years because there's just not enough sheep in it. Like, whatever's happening, that's terrible. So like we need to have all the solutions in place that if you have like one really hard winter and it kills a lot of the old rams off, you don't have a bunch of I'll throw guides coming into the mix, like guides and resident hunters coming up and shooting a bunch of 6 and 7 year old rams that just happen to break the nose, or yeah, or eights even, just because it's just because they're legal. They've got to understand the situation at hand, right? So yeah, like these conversations have to happen because I hope it doesn't get to that, right? But you just saw what happened and is continuing to happen in Alaska with some places being absolutely decimated for Dall sheep, and it's really sad. It's really sad. You got outfitters up there who are trying to delay their clients or sending them elsewhere. Like I know Ben got, I think, a couple of clients next year from an outfitter in Alaska, kind of like kicking them over his way because he can't take them anymore. And you're like, dude, that is bad stuff.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good conversation, and we'll continue this in the future, I'm sure. So, um,
100%, man.
we should,
100%.
yeah, cool.
Um,
Um,
go for
Go
it.
ahead. No, 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 no.
I was going to say, that probably actually like segues half decently into the other thing we've got cooking here, kind of post Shulaps, and we've got with the Ruck in the Park coming up in February and stuff here. Something that we've kind of coined the FCC, the fitness conservation and community aspect, that we've kind of like started to drum up here.
Yeah, I'm really stoked about this. First of all, Matt, you've been awesome. Like the Ruck in the Park, Run in the Park, or Ruck for the Shulaps, Run in the Park has been awesome. And two great events, I guess, community events to the Wild Sheep Society BC that you've done. Um, Anyone that's listened, we talked about the Ruck for the Shulaps on a previous podcast. And Matt, you did a great job leading us there. Great support from Mystery Ranch and our partners there, and great work in the Shulaps. So they did that Shulaps project. They've got collars out now. They're monitoring those sheep, and but you've kind of had this vision that no, it's much bigger than just a run in the park or a hike. So maybe talk about your vision for fitness conservation community, what it looks like to you, and so why it's so important, and kind of sort of the platform and what it stands for, the pillars of what the platform stands for.
Yeah, so I always think like like it's no secret I come from a fitness background, and I've spent a lot of time in the CrossFit gym since 2011 or something along those lines. And the thing that CrossFit's a good workout, good bang for buck, especially if you have good coaches. There's lots of good things that can happen there. Adam Foss asked me maybe 2 years ago. He said, "Do you think you're leaving anything on the table fitness wise if all you do is go to the CrossFit gym?" And that's realistically, like, you could always make like a perfect program, but there is no perfect program if you don't do it. And one of the things that, like, your compliance to a program in anything that's the biggest thing I would say. And what CrossFit does the best is builds an unbelievable community. If there's something happens to a member's car at the gym, everybody's donating something. If there's somebody's going down, hey, we have this athlete who is trying to go to this far off location to do this. Hey, let's do like a fundraiser for them. Yep, done. Like, everybody supports. And, it used to get like a bit of a funny rap, like, you're drinking the Kool-Aid, and how do you know someone does CrossFit? Oh, well, they'll tell you within the first 30 seconds of meeting them that they do CrossFit, And that's, I always find that, like, it's funny. But as the years have gone on, and CrossFit's not really a fad, it's more of like it's definitely there to stay. It's an incredible community. And what I really enjoy about it, especially in, times of let's call it political extremes, maybe, you're still in there, and I'm working out right next to someone who, like, I know that we aren't voting for the same party. And, and I think that used to be a bit more of a normal thing. There's still people that you'll get in the trenches with and sweat and have a good workout with, and find common ground and commonality. And I think that always is, easier to do when you're during blood, sweat, and tears a little bit. So in my mind, I was like, man, there's lots of squabbling and lots of, like, even what we talked about for the first, 20 or whatever minutes it was, there's lots of opinions about it. Right. And sometimes your opinion will instantaneously, be against somebody else's opinion. And then at that point in time, you're no longer like, well, I hate that person. And you're like, no, you don't. That you just have a different opinion. Like, there's not really a right or wrong here. We're not talking about murdering someone. So it's your opinion. And so I kind of was like, man, we got to get people together, and maybe people from outside the people who are always going to be at every like WSSBC event, or they're always going to support, like, because they are the glue of the organization? How do we get outside of that? And I'm like, no, that to me, that's like my avenue is always going to be fitness. Like it's going to be a run, it'll be a hike, it'll be some camping, whatever it's going to be, that's what it's going to be, right? And I think that as time has gone on here, you see people like Rich Froning from he's was 4 times CrossFit Games champion. He's super super well known. He's super into hunting now. They've created like Mayhem Hunt. They've done all these things, and he is like hook, line, and sinker into it from a hunt like 3 years ago maybe, and you're like that's cool. And he hopefully brings more people in who aren't hunters who now want to be, and they want to do it from like this mountain hunting kind of scenario that they're like romancing because they're like, yeah, man, I'm like super fit and I want to train and this is my new goal and I want to put like this unbelievable meat in the freezer or whatever avenue you want to come at it from. That's kind of my vision, right? Is to think about like how do we get more people involved in hunting and conservation, and then and it's usually going to be fitness, and then how could we make it all about sheep and all about things that are, how could we make it all about like figuring out places where their sheep are struggling or we need more information and it's hard to get people to go put boots on the ground there, and it's hard to put more money into it if we don't know what's at. So like, how can we plug those holes? And then you don't have to be hook, line, and sinker in conservation. I don't care if you go to another sheep count in your entire life. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to just be about fitness. You don't even have to be a hunter. Like we had this awesome woman come last year to the Ruck, well, I guess this year I should say, to Ruck for the Shulaps. It was her first overnight hike, like in the mountains, and she killed it. And they saw 40 plus sheep. She's like, this is cool. And like, I don't know if she's ever going to do it again, but she had a really good time and a really good experience. And I think that's more what we can almost like can sell people on, not, and without trying to be like a greasy salesman. You're like, this is it. It's getting out into wild places, seeing cool things, and then understanding that you and I can, and the people on these trips can have an effect. And then how can we just make more and more and more of these, like how could we make more and more of these things happen? Like if there's something happening and there's an area of rams where people don't know what's happening and it's in Oregon, like we could do an FCC event in Oregon and we can talk to WSF and we can go down there and we can do something cool. If it's in, if it's in Idaho, it's in Idaho, like wherever it is. If it's in Alaska, man, like I know sheep are struggling in Alaska. If there's something up there where, volunteer resources are struggling and we can go up there, then we can go up there. And I guarantee people will hop on board for whatever that might be. But for whatever reason, the human brain loves to suffer together. So I think if we can do more and more and more of that, like that's what I want to see. I want to almost, have chapters of these FCC events kicking off all over the place. I think that would be really cool with, sheep in mind, but that doesn't have to necessarily be if there's some sort of a high alpine mule deer problem, we can look at that too. Like there's no end to what I think this can do. And realistically, the biggest thing that I would like is to draw people in from outside the hunting sphere and just give them and let them have a look at our world and what we're out here trying to do, and maybe just change their view of giving them a more open opinion of what hunters really do for conservation.
Yeah, brilliant, man. And like that's really what we're about. We're about a community, right? Like we're drawn together, and it's not the sheep, right? It's not like people, like it's different. When you come to our show, like it's much bigger than the sheep. Like that's what brings us there. That's the guys that were there, and you can talk maybe hunting, but there's lots of people there that have never even gone sheep hunting, for crying out loud, right? Like there's, a lot of us have, and don't get me wrong, like that's the heart of who we are. But there's people that and a shit for the ones that haven't gone hunting. There's so many that have gone hunting and haven't killed a sheep too, right? So it's not Tons. It's much bigger than hunting. It's much bigger than sheep. It's about the community. And that's always been kind of one of the things that we've struggled with is like, how the hell do we get more people involved and interested in looking after the mission, and cater them and make it fun and interesting and involved, and especially if you're not a hunter, right? Because that, that's kind of been, almost our quote criticism. And if you could bring them in
Totally.
on the hook, on fitness, community, that sort of thing, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah,
I
for
think you're,
sure. Like there's no end of this, right? Like you see some of these like really awesome like Chelsea Hansel from Ontario. She runs these like kind of backcountry women's retreats like in Ontario. Those are unreal. There's someone else, damn, that I'm not picking up their name right now off the top of my head, but they did like a real badass one up just before sheep season in like in frickin' in like the northern part of the province, up in northern BC, and like all the rivers were swollen and it was just madness. And it's like a bunch of women out like camping and just like getting out. I'm like, this is sick. Like that's it, like
yeah.
that's what we want to do, right? Is just bring people together, have an experience, camp, do all those things, and that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. No, it's brilliant, buddy. A brilliant concept, and sort of, you've always had this vision for it, but you had two micro events, I guess we could call it. Micro's not really the right word, but we did the run in the
Yeah,
park
they
in
were
Penticton.
testers. They were
Yeah.
testers for sure. Yeah,
And incredible. Like, Penticton was your first one, and we ran on the Thursday, so it was a little quieter than we hoped, but it was timing. Like, let's be honest, it was like if we
yeah,
were plopped it in the like at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, we would have had 150 people there, right? So,
for sure.
and
Yeah,
so we're tweaking that. I think we're doing it Friday morning this year at the Sloot,
Friday.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Friday. Yeah.
So for our listeners, I'm not sure when this is getting dropped, but we're dropping the registration for the Sleuths Conservation Mountain Hunting Expo, which is our show in Penticton, and that's going to happen. We're going to, I think, drop it next Monday, so like early November, and you'll be able to sign up for, what are we calling it this year? What's the plan for Penticton this year, Matt?
The ruck in the park. Yeah. So
Ruck in the
the
Park.
one of the
Okay,
pieces is running scares some people, and
right.
and it just people are like, oh, my knees hurt when I run, and okay. So instead of a run, just because honestly running last year was just going to be easier, especially if I didn't know how many people we were going to have and whatever. Man, last year was so hard. Holy shit, it was hard. I really yeah, it was tough, man. It was tough. There's yeah, it's like maybe 6K of knee deep, like slushy, crystallized, icy ass snow. Like everybody was in runners. Like it was hard, man. It was wicked. And it's gonna be like that again this year, but it'll be a ruck. So we're gonna go in with lightweight, and then you're gonna pick up some weight at a high elevation, not high, but like an up, an up, and then you're gonna come back down. And I've got like maybe 3 or 4 plans in mind in case there's like a shit pile of snow this year, and we can't make it to where I kind of want to make it from. We've got a couple different options that we can do. So, but it'll be in the same spot. It'll be up. It'll be up at the edge of the park, edge of Okanagan Mountain Park, there off Shoot Lake Road.
Awesome. That's going to be a blast. And then we've got a plan for the summer, and I think we're heading back to Shulaps for this
Yeah,
2025 season, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think going back to the Shulaps is worth it. I think we can spread further along that ridge. I think we can might make it 2 nights. I think 2 nights this year. Enough people took the day off and they were just kind of mucking around anyway. So we might do 2 nights, and then we'll have a couple people leading a couple different groups, and we'll kind of spread out and go up and then spend 1 or 2 nights up top. And yeah, it'll be again like it'll be an awesome freaking weekend of camping. Man, it's beautiful up there too. Like that's the price of admission. You know what I mean? Like that's oh, it's worth the price of admission any day of the week to get out there and get up into the high country on the west side of the Shulaps. I mean, it's probably one of the most beautiful areas our province has to offer, and and we have a lot of cool stuff to look at. So it's pretty neat.
How many sheep did you see when you're out there? Or tweak me again. I
How we
can't
saw
remember.
like maybe like I'd have to look again actually. We saw like maybe like I think almost like 60 sheep.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
40
that's
maybe
phenomenal.
40, like maybe around 40. Like the one group saw like 40 lambs and ewes, and then there was a couple other fellas there, one of which his like grandfather or something like that started the society in his garage in Kamloops.
Yeah, the Distract boys were there, and
That's
so
right.
Kelly
That's right.
Distract. Yeah, that's right. I
That's
think
it.
it's
That's it. That's
I
it.
Yeah, Kelly started he was one of the founding fathers, founding members of the society. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so they reached out, and actually the two kids,
Yeah.
both of them were registered. In fact, there was we had to pull some strings to get the second one in. Kelly's wife thought she had them both signed up. She only had one signed up, and we were like, oh,
Oh
but
yeah.
then we had someone bail on us, so they were on the waiting
That's
list. We
right.
were able to get them in. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Perfect.
it was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean that was cool. So I think their group was actually up there a day before, and then they saw maybe another like 7 or 8 sheep. So yeah, it was somewhere in that, yeah, it's somewhere in that ballpark. So I mean, really awesome, man. Like really awesome.
Well, and then so you put this together, you had the vision, and then we pitched it to our good friends over at Mystery Ranch. And what does
That's right.
Mystery Ranch do? Like just out of the blue, they're like, "Yeah, we'll sign on to this." And we're like, "Okay." And I didn't really have much of a vision. Like I was just like, "Oh,
You
what
want
did
to
they
donate
do?"
some t-shirts? Like, yeah. Like that's it. It's like, well, I mean, like crap, we'll take some t-shirts or something like that if you want. Or I think I can't remember even how it came out. Was that, well, my initial idea was it'd be cool if everybody had a pack from them and we could, we get some picks and stuff. But then we also didn't really realize that we'd have 28 people signed up in like the first 2 weeks. That was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh shit. So it was like, it was a lot going on there. And then Mr. Ranch was like, 28 packs? Yeah, no problem. And I think we're both like, oh, okay, wow, this is incredible. Like, thank you so much. And now everybody
yeah.
who signed up for this thing gets a free pack that'll last them 20 years. Wow. Okay.
And
Not a bad
not a
swag
loaner
bag.
pack. That's the real
No.
deal. And there was Marshalls, there was like the
Dude,
pop-up
Marshalls and
40s, I
Bear
think it
Tooths and
was.
pop-up 40s, man, is unreal.
Yeah.
Frick.
So
Oh, cool,
um
man. Yeah.
yeah. And this isn't us like it's recognizing that people see the value in what we're doing and what you're doing, Matt, and sees the vision. And like I Mystery Ranch was so jacked. You were on that call. They were like, oh man, like, and your enthusiasm, right? Like, and you talked
Yeah.
about the community and fitness and conservation and just that intertwining of those three, how important it was. And yeah, they were super jacked about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, if that's the direction that missed, what's really cool to me, and like whether somebody else does this and they run with it and it's great and they get other spots, it's fine. Like, I don't care, right? As long as everything's moving in the right direction, like rising tide raises all boats, right? Like that's the idea. But like realistically, if Mystery Ranch is sitting there and in their like vision board for 2025 says more fitness, more community, conservation based focus, if that's what they're thinking of, and then you got me and you sitting here and we're like kind of hashing out other hey, we should be in the Shulap, we're doing these cool, and they're like, hey, that's exactly what we want to do. That can't be the only brand, and that's a major brand that can't be the only brand that's really interested in this, like so that's a very, very cool thing that I hope more and more and more companies kind of get on board with and start to allocate some funds and resources and time into, because you know it up here definitely in BC, right? Like wildlife's I feel like at some point is going to need our help unless a major government change happens and we start funding some of this stuff again. So it's yeah, that saying, like, no one's coming, it's up to us. That's kind of like how I feel about sometimes with wildlife here in British Columbia. It's like no one's coming, man. Like, it is up to us. So do good.
Yeah, don't fuck up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well said.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely true, right? And I think that adage is like so apt. Like it's on our watch. We have the opportunity to affect what we can. But if we think that there's going to be some savior that rides in on a white horse, it's not happening. It's just not. It's not
No.
looking good. So we need to be proactive and look after the things that we care about and get people involved and so,
Yep.
yeah, it's awesome, man. Super, super cool initiative. Love it. So I guess this is officially our soft launch of Fitness Conservation Community, but
Yep.
they're going to be like these smaller events that we talk about. So we'll have one in Penticton, we'll have one in the Ruck for the Shulaps, and
Yep.
they may change. And like you said, maybe this is something we can sort of build on. It's kind of, I look at the Ruck for the Shulaps, I kind of think it's like our sheep counts on steroids, right? Like it's like
Totally.
it's the way we wanted our sheep count to be, but nobody really had the vision on how to pull it off. And it's super cool to do that, man. It's
Yeah.
such a great feeling, great community, and good people, like-minded. And I've just heard so many great things about it.
Yeah, man, for sure. And I think, it's like when we started talking about this stuff whenever it was, because really the inaugural launch of this was last year, Canada Day. I said, I'm around this summer. I got to do a hike anyways. I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a little event. And if I can get, if I get some people together and we raise enough money for a caller, let's do it. I got a bunch of, asked for a bunch of prizes. And all of a sudden, like 17 people or 15 people came out or something like that. And I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. We should do this
Yeah.
again. And then we did. And it was like, then Colin was like, hey, we should, we should do what we used to do at Sheep Show. But like, and I'm like, yep. He's like, but we should do it in a year. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm like, let's do it this year. He's like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, leave it to me. And, and then it's like, just, more and more. It's like, man, it's like I love it. So it's like it barely feels like work because it's just fun, and I think everybody should be a part of it. So, we're kind of and as these things have gone, I'm like, I don't think this is going to be like, I think there's been nothing but success so far, but like, I don't think there's going to be some crazy big success 500 person event, generating all this, wild sheep money, blah, blah, blah. And maybe it never gets there, but we're going to keep pushing towards that as it's like a major pillar in the community and generates some of its own buzz and steam. And that's, we're talking 3-5 years from now. So we just got to keep being consistent with the events and keep having all the awesome people show up and, people reaching out to, hey, I can come take photos for it. I'd love to be a part of it. Hey, if you need any help, you just let me know. Yeah. Like it's awesome, man. Like I can't thank people enough who've reached out over the year and a bit that I've been doing a few of these things that, that there's been no shortage of people, to come help me for sure. And, I just gotta start putting them to work a little bit harder now. So it's about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool,
Awesome,
man.
man. Well, super grateful for your leadership on this, Matt, and just really excited to see where it goes. And we'll be talking more. We're just working on some sponsorship for it, so we're kind of we haven't made a big splash on it, but we'll start talking about the Penticton event here shortly, and hopefully we can do an official launch once we sort of get our sponsorship packages lined up and everything. And I can't wait. So.
100%, man. 100%. And then everybody keep it on the docket and keep it on the calendar for future events coming down the pipe.
Yeah, for sure. So the as we mentioned, I think registration will be out when we drop this podcast. So get over to our website, sign up for the Sleuth Conservation Mountain Hunting Expo, but most importantly, sign up for the Ruck in the park. And so that's going to be at the show on the Friday morning. We'll have a great set of prizes, a whole bunch of really cool stuff to give away. Again, we're not articulating what they are because we're still waiting to hear on some of our title sponsors for that. But we will have that shortly for you. And then you're thinking the Ruck in July again of 25?
Yep, 100%.
Awesome.
Yeah, the first weekend after like bear season closes. So it's like it's your tune up for it's a gut check time to see if you're in shape before sheep season. It's a good fun time to come test some new gear, make some new friends, like bunch of people in communication after the event last year and stuff too. So always super fun.
Yeah, right on. Love it, brother. Okay, what else we got? Do you want to touch on what you got coming up for a hunt here next week, or are we?
Yeah,
Is there anything else?
Yeah, heading out for goats next week, but that should be. I think the first day, I think it's calling for 100 mils of rain, so that's pretty standard for hunting off the coast, hunting up on the north coast for goats. So, you take those hunts almost as a grain of like with a grain of salt. You're like, yeah, I don't know. You may get great weather. You may get 6 days of rain and no visibility. You just kind of take what you get with those and know that it's just kind of par for the course hunting goats this time of year in the, the northern part of northern middle part of the top third of the province, let's say. It's a bit ugly, but that's about it. And then maybe
Awesome.
I'd like to try and, like I said, man, like I'd like to try and find a nice mule deer this year as well, or at least I'll give it a go anyways. And then that's really about it, man. And then try and chase some cats here in the winter and get ready for next year, baby.
Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff I want to talk to you about. I'm not going to do it today because we turned this into a real podcast. But I wanted like work-life balance, right? Like you're a doctor, so you got your practice. You're
Yeah.
newly married. You're a guide.
Yeah.
You're a volunteer. You like to hunt yourself. It's a lot, eh?
Yeah. 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 You throw the coffee company on top of there too, and there's a couple more
Yeah,
things.
right.
There's
Yeah,
always
entrepreneur. Yeah.
yeah, there's always something going on. So yeah, it's not too bad. I'd say this year was good work light, like a good push of the balance, I'd say. But yeah, I don't know. I got some different plans for next year, and then yeah, man, like it's you know, it's funny. I haven't watched beyond like the film I was involved in, the first film that kind of pushed me into this world, Beyond the Kill, and I haven't watched When the Wolves for a long time, but people will mess me, shoot me a note about it, and they're like, "Man, you really did jump in like hook, line, and sinker, hey?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, like it's not even that long ago, and it seems like it was 20 years ago that I was, trying to figure this world out for the very first time. So yeah, it's just the more experiences I can get, I feel like I'm always just learning and trying to engulf as much knowledge as I can. So yeah, I love this community and this lifestyle, and I wouldn't change it. Wouldn't change it for the world now. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that because actually, when you think about it, I remember that film came out from Adam. I'm like, and then you start showing up at the podcast. I'm like, who the fuck is this Matt guy? Like, I'm just like,
Totally.
just like, and he's
What's going
like,
on here?
he's like, he's not a hunter really. Like, he's just new and like,
Totally.
but now it's funny. I look back on it, like I reflect, and I'm like, I feel like you've been a fabric in this community for like a decade. Like, I feel like you've been here forever, right? So
Yeah.
it's like,
You know what, man?
um,
My mom says it so well. She's looks, she's this 70-year-old British woman, but she says, for better, for worse, people remember you. And
uh,
that's it. Like it's teachers will remember me, probably not for my marks, which were fine. They'll remember me for being a pain in the ass. You know what I mean? And it's definitely like it's that, man. It's
uh,
whatever that is, it's like that's what I got.
awesome. Well, we're sure lucky to have you, man. We appreciate you, and thanks for coming on. And it's interesting with the cover photo, and I'm just going to be like 30 seconds on this, but we have not put a dead ram on the cover of our magazine in over a decade, and it was, I think, something that we talked about for a long time. Do we do this? And we stopped doing it for a while because what we're trying to do is get charitable status, and we're trying to sort of shed, with the Charities Act, Charities Directorate, that we're quote hunters, if effectively, right? Which was ridiculous that we had to play that game, but that was the game we had to play. So we always posted live rams, and some of our members go, "Why the hell don't you ever put like hero shots on, right? Like we're hunters," and we're like, "Yeah, and it was kind of a culture." And so we pushed the issue this year, and we asked our board, give us some direction, like give us some, where do you want to go in this? And our board said, let's celebrate that we're hunters. So if there's a good photo, and let's do it this fall. Let's put one on the cover that makes sense if there's a good one. And so this fall rolls around, and we're like, and I'd seen your ram, and I was like, ooh. So I'm like, I asked our committee, I'm like, so guys, do we have any good photos for the? And the first immediately somebody said Wardo's ram, and it was funny. I'm like, bingo, thank you so much. And everyone's like, yeah, 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 yeah. And it was like so awesome. And so it was, it's a great story. You were out there with Matt Ward, who's one of our directors. You're out there with Lauren Trousdale, who's one of our life members, does a lot for the community. And then it's you, Matt, like what you do for conservation for wild sheep, the who you are, your outreach and everything. It was a perfect fit, man. So thank you. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, man, and it's an insane honor, and yeah, I'll probably have that bad boy framed and look at it, with a lot of cool memories, not just of the hunt, but I think what it represents, and I think I wouldn't be a part of an I wouldn't affiliate myself with an organization such as WSSBC if you guys weren't, I think, leading from the front and have have so many great people in the organization. So kudos to you guys because you make it easy for it to do. But that's enough ball washing for this
Yeah.
episode, maybe. Hey?
Yeah, exactly. One thing I will say is that I can envision this, that your wife wakes up in the middle of the night, she rolls over and looks in there. You're looking at the cover of the Wild Sheep Society BC magazine.
Oh
Okay,
man.
maybe.
Oh man, have you it's oh shit. I thought that story was private, Kyle. God damn it.
Awesome. Okay, brother. Well,
Oh
thank you so
man.
much. Appreciate your time today, and
Yeah,
look
cheers.
forward to doing it again soon.
100% man. Cheers, buddy. Thank you.